All right, so we're going to buy into the hype. We're going to take a look at Qwen 3.8 27B. I was interested in doing a video right when it came out, and figured maybe we could just take a look at it live. So it's probably the most exciting model release, I don't know, in a while. People are really amped about it. Well, as far as running local AI goes on a single graphics card, something that's not too exotic. So one thing that I was interested in was, and this is my first time going live on YouTube, so we'll just take it as it goes. But I was interested in comparing whether 3.5 actually improved to 3.6 as we take a look at the new model. And it looks like it did. And so I figured, 8 a.m., I think, in about 7 minutes, the weights are about to go live. And so we'll take a look at bootstrapping Qwen 3.8 with Qwen itself and see how that infrastructure setup staging process goes. And in the interim, we can take a look at what the stats look like on my benchmark tools from 3.5 and 3.6. So basically, it was really close. And I haven't actually run this comparison before because I didn't use 3.5 very much, and I just kind of jumped in with 3.6 27B. And it's just such an excellent model. I didn't see much of a reason to do the comparison at the time, so kind of retrospectively looking at it. And we have an example here of a task where 3.6 did a much better job than 3.5, and so we can take a look at the trace and see exactly what went wrong with it. And the idea here is that maybe when we look at 3.8, this kind of comparison can give us, I don't know, maybe examples of what to look for or where it is stronger or weaker, and I really am not sure exactly what to look for, but maybe the reasoning style will be different, maybe it'll just be a stronger model in general, but we won't get the full benchmark results until I have a chance to run, for 4 or maybe even longer hours on that one. So anyways, so let's take a look at this task. And this is part of what we'll run on 3.8 as well. But this is scripting within Comfy UI, and 3.5 looks like it churned quite a bit here. And then with the improved 3.6 version, I see an rm-f in there. It's a little bit strange. And so the task is to go into a Docker container that's running Comfy and examine it and actually do some image generation. And so the model is instructed to do image generation in a loop. And how did Qwen 3.5 go wrong? I'll start by exploring the Comfy UI installation to understand the workflow. How does this differ from what Qwen 3.6 did? Qwen's taking a look at the files in the directory. So it looks like Qwen 3.6 got to reading the correct file earlier with SD15 basic. Maybe not. I guess, so as we look at how, 3.8 performs, I guess I want to pay attention to the amount of tool calls that it's doing, because I see this is just much more efficient work from 3.6. So maybe that'll continue with the new one. Who knows? So what else do we kind of have planned here? Again, this is kind of informal, and I decided to do this last minute, but we are going to do the bootstrapping process, the infrastructure we just took a look at 3.5 and 3.6. I've got this game that's kind of interesting in Godot. And so I had 3.6 implement this, the 27B. So let's have it run it. Okay. So this game is called Super Dario, and it's a pretty simple Godot platformer based on Super Mario. And what's interesting about this is that this is kind of a collaboration between Claude and the dumber local model. And so in this case, I had Claude create a scaffold and an MCP that allows the smaller agents to say, look, put a platform at this XY index, and then put a character here or whatever. And it really simplified the amount of fiddling with Godot settings that Qwen had to do to get this game up and running. It made it much more reliable than, oh, that was a significant bug. The character just kind of glitched through the floor as it picked up a power-up. That's not so good. Oh, it looks like it ran the wrong version of the game. No, this is the right one. Can I get the hat this time? Oh, I can. Okay, so it's a Super Mario clone. It's built in Godot. There's an MCP that makes it super, super simple for agents, even smaller ones like the 27B, to actually get started in there. The game has a couple quirks. When you get the power up, you don't become large like Mario, but you wear this sick top hat and you get a cane. You're playing as the AI executive in this example, and you have the power to spawn dirt clods. And the clods have unpredictable results, just like Claude does. Okay, and so sometimes they'll make items disappear on the map. Sometimes they'll rotate items. And this was, Qwen started with a blank slate, which in this case is a working Godot level that's empty. And so we're going to run this comparison too. And it's 8 o'clock. So it might be time. Yeah, people are going crazy on Twitter about this release. So let's check our... Oh, there it is. 2 downloads last month. And I believe we do have immediate support from Unsloth. Cool. We're live. Let's do it. Yeah, and so again, I thought it would be neat to try and get Qwen 3.6 to do the bootstrapping for us. If it doesn't work out that way, we'll just use Claude. But it ought to work. My config is pointed to the wrong spot, and it thinks that we're running Muse Glimmer. We are no longer running Muse Glimmer. So yeah, we're gonna do just normal setup stuff here and start by downloading the Q4 quant, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about what my configuration looks like at home for this. And honestly, when I'm doing this kind of work, I typically use Claude. So I don't know if I trust the 27B. When it comes to like downloading multi-gigabyte files, staging stuff, and setting up infrastructure, I'm just more likely to trust Claude, or at least an Opus quality model. So we'll see how the previous Qwen does. I mean, this one's a slam dunk. I just gave it the command. Nice. So we're downloading the iQ4 XS. I typically use the smallest Q4 quant that's available. I used to use the Q4KM, but let's take a look at the model card. Qwen 3.8 27B, now that we're downloading. Qwen can now be run and fine-tuned in Unsloth desktop. Oh yeah, we're looking at Unsloth here, but let's look at what Qwen actually wrote. Okay, built on the architectural foundation of Qwen 3.5, Qwen 3.8 delivers substantial gains across coding, professional work, research, and long horizon agentic tasks. 3.8 27B brings these advances to a compact, deployment-friendly, dense model, native vision language model. Now, I saw somewhere that it supports videos, and so we need to try that. I want to try that as soon as we can. So it understands images and videos with flexible thinking control, designed to carry complex multi-step tasks through to completion with greater reliability. Following enhancements, improvements across coding, professional work, research, and long horizon agentic tasks. Strong autonomous planning, better handling of environment feedback, downstream compatibility, broader support for popular harnesses. I'm a little surprised. I wonder why that's a selling point. I never had a issue with that particular part of it. Flexible thinking control. This was highlighted in, I think, a Reddit thread here about 3.8. Is that, top comment, seems the reasoning effort is the new thing. I guess you can configure it per request now. And you can configure the preserved thinking. This is typically enabled, at least in Pi. Preserved thinking is usually enabled by default. I'm personally excited about this. I have no idea how you... I don't know. It seems like magic to have a language model ingest an hour-long video. So we're gonna try that. I'm gonna try it with something dry and boring, like a lecture on chess. I was thinking maybe something from Ben Feingold, where he just talks for like an hour and has a bunch of chess notation and stuff. That might be an interesting one. See if we can get some of the game transcripts out of a long video like that. But so we're definitely going to try that as soon as we get it up and running. All right, 27 billion parameters. Oh, I'd like to compare this with the 3.6. As far as the architecture goes. It says it's based on 3.5, so I think it's exactly the same. Gated Delta Net. This looks like exactly the same. To me, anyways. So the 3.8 model architecture seems to match 3.6. All right. How are we doing? The ones I care about the most are like Deep Sui and SwiBench, even though I'm not a big fan of like Terminal Bench and SwiBench. From looking at I'm just not a big fan of these benchmarks. If you dig into the tasks, they're not really that great. And so they claim to be getting it's a lot better. 8 points better on SwiBench Pro. 10 points better on Terminal Bench compared to 3.6. My screen's glitching out here. How can we see? Oh man, they're comparing performance to Opus 4.6. All right, so if we believe them, the previous generation of Qwen was matching Opus 4.6, and the current version is just way better than Opus 4.6 Max. Wow. Yeah, we'll see. That doesn't match my experience. Yeah, that's interesting. Now these visual language tasks show Qwen 3.8 absolutely crushing previous Qwen, Opus 4.6, Glimmer, they don't have data for, I guess. And then 3.7 plus, isn't this a much larger model? I don't know what they're referring to there. I don't see it's one of their cloud offerings. And how many parameters is 3.7 plus? General multimodal intelligence. All right, how's our download doing? All right. We have 2 inference servers to stage this to. So I'm going to have Qwen 3.6 start these copies. I want to review its work before it kicks this off. One machine uses a different folder. It's like mount models versus models. So we're using Qwen 3.6 here as a sysadmin. The configs on those machines, they're just systemd configs for Llama server, so it should be pretty easy to make the translation. And it wants to do rsync avp. One thing that I hope it doesn't get tripped up on is that the Hugging Face downloads, when you use the command line, they have this weird structure where it just buries the actual blob in a bunch of symlinks or something, which I'm not a huge fan of. All right, do it. Both started, it's kicking off some rsyncs. Oh, Mitchell, I see you're using the 27B for complex inference, and then Qwen 30B. Do you mean the 35B A3B, or when you have the framework desktop? Man, I wish I had 128 gigs of shared RAM. I do have a Mac Studio, which is the computer that we're working on now. It's got 96 gigs. I would have bought the 128 if it was available, but you couldn't buy it. Okay, both transferring. Yeah, I love how fast the 35B is. It's insane. It can go off, and it's kind of a detriment because it can just be so fast that it runs a bunch of commands. I'm like, what are you doing? I don't have time to stop it. Honestly, on my configuration, so right now we're running against a 3090 Ti, and it just rips on the 27, even with the dense one. It's super fast. Okay, let's get new systemd config set up on both machines. I'm pretty sure that 27B is up to the task. Like I said, I haven't used the 27B for this task really. I'll usually just reach for Claude in this instance. So this is a little bit new, and if it like deletes my production configs, I wouldn't honestly be that surprised. But nothing is too critical here, and yeah, with the MTP, the 35B just rips. All right, what's it saying? I don't know if it's going off the rails. Oh yeah, we're gonna need to get the mmproj downloaded and the Oh no, the MTP is embedded. So it's checking the goof itself instead of going to the web to see if the model we just downloaded has vision and all that. So I don't mind that. Oh, there's no MTP yet? What? Are we for real? I want a refund. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's not a big deal. It's just a little slower. I love this. 2 downloads last month. Okay. So it's already got that downloaded. And yeah, we'll just continue configuration here. We should be up and running in a couple minutes against 3.8. So what do I want to do first once the 27B is downloaded? Probably Super Dario, just because that sounds kind of fun. Another thing that I've noticed with Qwen 3.6 is that it's bad at 20 questions. It sounds a little bit silly because it's like like a kid's game. But when I tried this with Muse Glimmer was much better at 20 questions. 20 questions, when you're asking the questions, you have to keep dividing the world space in half. You have to repeatedly be like bisecting. And I've seen Qwen do this thing in 20 questions where it'll ask a few reasonable things, and then it'll start guessing, is it a toaster? Is it an oven? Is it a guitar amplifier? And it's like you haven't done the work of actually narrowing it down that far. And it just starts guessing objects. So I think it's a reasoning flaw. And because it's so demonstrable, I think it's actually something to try against the 3.8. So we might take a look at that too. All right, so we'll ask 3.6 to show me the systemd units. You see loops with the 35B? Yeah, it's just a property of all the Qwens. I agree with you. I think when it's underspecified and there's ambiguity in the prompt and the task, I do see that a lot. All right. Qwen's writing our systemd for us. And I want to check the cache quant. I'd prefer using the Q4. We'll have a 128 context window. Cache RAM 4096 should work. This machine's a little bit RAM constrained because it has a bunch of services running on it, but it ought to be just fine. And then with the reasoning budget of 8K, that's quite a bit of reasoning space for the model. This machine, the 151 machine, is a much more capable box. It's got 32 gigs of RAM that are accessible to the language server VM, and it's got a 4090 in it. So this one can afford to have more of the cache RAM option. DeepSeek reasoning format. Yeah, push them. We'll just make sure that with the 0.4 it conflicts with the currently running unit. Okay, go ahead and start 3.8. Okay, so we should lose the ability to continue with this chat for a second. Good, that's expected. It's loading our fancy new model. And by the way, you know, if Qwen 3.6 messed up the systemd unit, we'll just be sitting here for a couple minutes. So hopefully, I'm trusting it. I'm trusting it. I don't want to log in over there and SSH and poke around. I hope it just, you know, no scoped it. All right, we better go take a look, because usually this is pretty fast. All right, what did you do, Qwen? Three 3.8's running. It's possible on this first request. So it looks like the server is up and running. So that's a good sign. But it's possible the first request is slower than normal. I don't know. I don't expect it to. Oh, there we go. All right. Awesome. Yeah, we may as well start 151. And I'm going to have Qwen 3.8 edit my config. Because we're pointing at the new model. It's getting a little bit confused because I had a 35B A3B running on 151 and my model's config was up to date. It's not a big deal. Now this I really like to see from any agent, but it's going off and checking its work. So I told it to update the config to reflect that it was running 3.8. And it's actually hitting the source of truth, which is actually curling to that server to make sure it is running what is updating. So checking the source when it makes an edit is a very good sign. And if I restart Pi, then we are actually up and running with Qwen 3.8. All right, that's not bad. 20 minutes in, 20 minutes after the hour. Got it downloaded and set up. Let's make sure that we have vision. All right. Pi has accepted my screenshot. The user sent an image of pixel art GPU burning with purple blue flames with the text Unbiased Bob written on it. This looks like a meme image, probably a reaction to something. This might be a joke, or probably related to the Qwen 3.8 release project they're working on. Maybe a GPU got fried during training or inference. All right. Let's try something a little bit more involved. This is a graph showing the performance of previous Qwens. Got the reasoning tokens coming in. Unbiased Bob was just a reaction to this. The 3.6 model is beating 3.5. All right, let's get analytic here. So we just pasted in a graph, and I want to check and see if Qwen 3.8 is actually getting the right values from it. Memcached bisect 80, framed KV plus 100. Okay, this all looks right. Not bad. So the headline, 3.6 wins 8 of 12 discriminating tasks, ties 2, loses 1, Compy UI sweep minus 50. 3.6 wins. It actually lost on the Compy UI sweep. And a lot of the tasks are saturated. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's the right analysis. And we'll know in a few hours whether 3.8 is the same way. Okay, so we're up and running. One of the most important things I want to do with the new model is kick off my benchmark suite. And I'm actually going to do this with Claude. That's how I usually run this. So let's just do that really quick so it runs over the next few hours, and then we can get more detailed results about how it actually performs. So I'm going to use my Regina evaluation engine and ask it to kick off a run against Qwen 3.8. So what's running at my house right now? So we have a 4090, and we have the 3090, who's currently serving inference for Pi, and they've both got 3.8 27B loaded up there. And so this was going to be the Regina run, and then we're going to do some interactive testing with Pi on the 3090 Ti. I've got them reverse here. And yeah, so, and then if we look at my Mac, which is Devra 96 gigabyte Mac Studio. So this is going to be driving the Regina benchmark against the 4090. And so that's the part that we're going to be setting up now. Why is this all dotted lines? I didn't ask for that. Kick off the full benchmark run against 151 and the 3.8 27B running there now. Okay, so let's come back to our little game that we had 3.6 implement. And again, this was created in Godot by Qwen 3.6, and let's have 3.8 do it. See if it's any different. It's going to use an MCP and create a Godot level. call it World 1.4. I don't think we have one with that name yet. And again, to recap here, this game was set up by Claude. So this is kind of a collaboration between a stronger model and a weaker model here. And so Claude is the one that set up the infrastructure that allows agents to work with Godot over the MCP. I found that to be much more effective than having Qwen just start out scripting with Godot scripts, and it was coming up against a lot more errors in that way. So this was just effective for me. And again, this game has a few features. It's just like Super Mario, but it's Super Dario. You play as the AI executive, and you're crushing the local models and banning the open weights models. You have the power to spawn clods, and these dirt clods have unpredictable effects, just like Claude. So as you can see here, sometimes you change the time of day when the clods interact with an object, and sometimes they spawn enemies or rotate objects. You never know what they're going to do. And the model is going to be responsible for determining that behavior. Now, in addition, Claude set this up so that Qwen 3.8 is going to be able to test its own work. So we're going to see it spawn the game and kick off a pretty dumb player that goes off and actually will run through the whole level to make sure that it hasn't done anything like spawn an enemy over an abyss or stuff like that. So what's Qwen doing? It's talking about the gap jump rules. There's limits on how many, like how wide the gaps can be. There's some guidelines given about how many enemies should be on the map for this level. Cloud effects. So it's trying to figure out a table for the cloud effects. So it's going to keep the destroy and spawn enemy low. Yeah, so one of the things that happens when you have the... Oh, that was weird. The character just died. But yeah, when you hit enemies with a clod, you can spawn new enemies. So it wants to keep that rate low, which I don't mind. Jiggle, I guess, is a cosmetic effect. It can flip objects, which is cosmetic. And it's reasoning through. Man, my agent keeps jumping. I'm not very happy about that. Let's just use Tmux so it doesn't keep doing that. Okay. All right, so this is Qwen kicking off a test run of its own work. It looks like it chose a sunset for this level, like a sunset effect. Okay, the bot died to the enemy, but it never bumped the top hat box. It's reasoning through enemy placement and whether the player is able to get the top hat. This all looks super promising. It's calling to the MCP script, and actually it's not using the MCP, it's using the script behind the MCP. It's effectively the same. Maybe a better test would be to completely hide that binary from it, but oh man, it's doing some physics calculations here. Max jump height, v squared over twice gravity. What? A full jump raises the feet about 4 tiles. I'm inclined to let it cook for a bit and see what it comes up with. I want to see it test its own work pretty thoroughly. I'm also kind of curious to interrupt it and just run what it's got so far. Oh, it's actually checking the other levels in the directory. Okay, one thing I'm noticing here, and I just haven't seen Qwen reason with these smaller tokens, like the 1/2. This is not an ASCII character, and the squared. What are those, Unicode points or whatever? That's a new behavior. That's kind of neat. Another thing that I'm noticing that I haven't seen before with other Qwens is this token, rethink. Option 4, rethink. This kind of let me reconsider, and the looping with reasoning, that's super common. We'll let that cook for a bit and then come back to the other things that we're doing. So what have we got so far? We have Bootstrap 3.8. We were running in about 20 minutes, which is rad. I'm super glad Unsloth had the quantized weights available. We did take a look at the, here we go, it's testing its work again. Great. And to be clear, it doesn't have to do a lot of work to kick off this test. It just says to the MCP, like, oh, that's not good. Our little guy got stuck. That's super funny. I wonder if it's gonna... Okay, the bot is weak. It gets stuck at X is 88. A staircase with height 5. The bot can't climb the staircase. It jumps repeatedly against the staircase wall and times out. Wait, the bot's stuck jump? Yeah, well, it's trying to reason through the issue. I think we should let this cook. And yeah, so this is in progress. Great, Regina's going to run the full benchmark suite on my 4090 machine, which is good. And then I wanted to ask Claude in my benchmark directory. I'm seeing new behavior from 3.8 27B. It's using tokens like, I don't even know, how do I get that token? You know, yeah, keep debugging. I'm going to ask Claude to check prior runs for these things and just see if it's actually been doing that the whole time and I just haven't noticed. Phew. What's that all about? That's funny too. Let me think about what would make the bot reliably stomp. The bot triggers a jump when the enemy is 4 to 34 pixels ahead and it's on the floor. If the enemy is walking toward the bot, the approach speed is 129 pixels per second. Yeah, it's using all these special characters. Approximately equal, the arrow. Greater than or equal to. Oh yeah, okay, so Mitchell, you're asking about the game spec. Let's take a look at that. All right. So okay, so I worked in this directory games with Claude to set up to set it up so that the smaller models would be able to script Godot a little bit easier than using the actual Godot script. And so this is Claude's, setup. And if we go into Godot MCP, this Dario tool exposes the implementation that they have access to. And so, yeah, so the models have stuff like add enemy, add plants, add platform, which is a much simpler level of abstraction than all the Godot calls that you would have to do with modifying rectangles and pixels and stuff like that. So there's two parts to how the agents actually start implementing a level. One is that MCP being available. So if we go into Qwen Lab, this is where the smaller agents are intended to work from. And they have this MCP here. They're configured to be able to use that. And all it does is expose those primitives that we just looked at. And then the agents file says, you build levels for Super Dario using Super Dario tools. You never edit game engine files. The tools are the whole interface. And the spec is described here. So there's rules like where the gaps are. There's rules about where the enemies are. Okay, 1 second. And by the way, we'll probably wrap this up around 9, see what we can get done in the next 20 minutes. Okay. All right. Yeah, and so in addition to that, it just tells the agent time of day is an option. So there's room. I think this, and I did this with Fable, by the way, but it strikes a nice balance between allowing the agents some creativity to actually kind of make the game or the level their own, and then not letting them, because I was seeing them get bogged down in the details of like where to draw a box and coordinates. And as you can see, Qwen's already, struggling and working through that stuff quite a bit anyways. It's just, I mean, they're small models, So I found this to be an effective kind of middle ground between, like drawing polygons yourself in OpenGL versus, just a much simpler interface. So, yeah, where do we stand? How's it doing? Is it stuck? It's trying to figure out why the bot is dying. The bot that goes through and tests has really kind of dumb behavior. Let's interrupt it. Let's stop debugging, and the human will try your level. Is it set up for that? You know what? I saw this with Muse Glimmer, and I did not like this a lot. The user is asking, let's stop the debugging. A human will try the level. Is it set up for that? This same behavior of echoing the same prompt that got fed in, we saw with Glimmer, and I don't know, I just didn't get it. It doesn't seem to be adding anything. So two recent releases, both exhibiting this strange reasoning. Wonder why. Okay. Oh, and by the way, the assets, they're just created by Claude. So this model doesn't have to create. Oh, that's not good. So there's kind of a bug here where when you hit well, now we have a top hat, so we can't take damage, or we can't, we're gonna destroy the blocks. It looks like when it places a platform and it has, what do you call this thing? The mystery box. It looks like there's a brick behind it. So that's not ideal. We can ask it to fix that. All right. Let's throw some clods at the local instance. Oh no. Give me the hat. This is risky. Oh, it's huge. So there's like a probability distribution that the agent can configure on the clods. So it throws out a dirt clod and it changed the time of day. We also saw it increase the size a lot on this one. Okay, the clod table is recolor. Oh, this is a new behavior from Qwen 2. It's spelling color the British way. Huh. I've never seen it do that. I've never seen it do that. And the reference is also not spelled that way. Jiggle. Looks like an animation effect. Mirror the sprite. Dust puff. Target untouched. I don't think I've seen that. There's the rotate. What's the rotate probability? 8%. Oh, it looks like we ran out of time or something. Yeah, this is the one. Why did it restart? So now we can't hit the... Well, let's have it fix this problem. I'm forgetting the name of these boxes. Oh, that was a bug too. They also have a platform behind them. The question boxes are placed there. The box containing the item also has a platform behind it. The box has bricks behind it. Let me reread. It keeps echoing my prompt. How does this benefit the model? With the attention mechanism, it doesn't need to do that. It's echoed my input prompt 3 times. let me be more explicit. The question boxes are hard to hit, especially as the smaller, weaker player, because sometimes you jump into the question box and just hit the bricks on the same XY coordinate as the question box. Oh, now it figured it out. Bricks and cue boxes can share the same coordinate. Yeah, now it's figured out the bug. Okay, so we asked Claude to take a look for these, Unicode math characters, and they are well established and they are more common in 3.6. Okay, well that's on me. That's not a new behavior, and 3.6 did that as well. And the arrow about equals and greater than or equal to are all firmly precedented. However, one genuine exception, 1/2, and every other vulgar fraction, is that what those are called? Are at literal 0 across all 42 models. Okay, 1 second. Okay, well, all right, so I think this has been a pretty interesting little session with the 3.8 model. We kicked off the benchmark run. We looked at some examples of improvements on the previous generation of the model. Super Dario is working just fine. Oh, yeah, and it was able to fix the bug with the platforms. I think this is a pretty strong initial showing, and we'll do another video with the full results of the benchmark, but yeah, I'm gonna call it there, and thanks for taking a look.